A proportion of the killings and injuries that happened during the conflict involved agents of the British state, whilst the civil report into the murder of human rights lawyer Pat Finucane did not go far enough for the family. It did report that 85% of loyalist intelligence came from the British state, and the civil report was accepted by the British Prime Minister, who apologised to the Finucane family for state collusion. Over 10 years ago, the British government was criticised by the European Court of Human Rights for failing to uphold its obligations under Article 2 to investigate state killings. The British government responded to the court's criticism by putting together a package of measures, which were the reform of the Coroner's Court, the establishment of the Historical Inquiries Team, and additional powers to the Police Ombudsman to investigate state killings. However, over a decade later, this package of measures has been an abject failure. Over the last month, the European Court heavily criticised the capacity of the Coroner's Court to fulfil its role and said that the inquest system in the north of Ireland was structurally incapable of addressing the British government's obligations. One of the judges went further, saying that the delay in the inquests made it possible for some to benefit from virtual impunity. As for the Historical Inquiries Team, which we know has crashed and cannot be resurrected, the British government is claiming here in Europe that in its action plan that it submitted last month, that the Historical Inquiries Team is likely to recommence reports later this year. We know this is a nonsense. Regarding the third measure, the Ombudsman's Office, whilst the British government is holding it up as a body that will deliver on its human rights obligations, the Police Ombudsman's Office is under-resourced and recently was refused £1 million needed to carry out its duties. The Police Ombudsman is also challenged in an upcoming review, a judicial review, by the Retired Police Officers Association, which alleged that the Ombudsman doesn't have the right to make Article 2 declarations. These are the same RUC personnel who give people in police barracks a very hard time to get them to talk, but now it is they who do not want to talk. If the Ombudsman's Office is to succeed, it needs resourced and its powers must be enhanced so that it can compel retired police officers to cooperate with inquiries. So it was crucially important that Human Rights Solicitor Niall Murphy, Paul O'Connor from the Pat Finucane Centre and I met with Human Rights Commissioner Musnieks, and also later with officials from the Human Rights Directorate, because we were able to provide them with information showing that the British government's human rights breaches are continuing. And I also want to acknowledge the assistance that I had from RFJ. We told these influential people that they needed to be very aware that the British government is failing to honour its human rights obligations. I have invited the Human Rights Commissioner to the north of Ireland later in the year to meet with relatives of victims of state violence.